In the 191st Block Talks, we speak with Victor Mendes, head of payments at the Ton Foundation, who talks about meeting users where they are. I'm your host, Mauricio Magaldi, and this is Block Drops, your weekly digest on blockchain for business. These news are not a form of endorsement, sponsorship, or encouragement for consumption, and are meant for educational purposes only. All right, everybody, I'm here with fellow Brazilian, Victor Mendes, who's going to tell us who he is and what he does with blockchain. Victor, welcome to Block Talks.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. Great to be here with you.
Did I say it right? Are you Brazilian for real?
I am Brazilian, 100%. And in fact, my name is João Victor Mendes. What happened is that since I started working with like companies from abroad, I've realized that they have a hard time pronouncing João. So I just went with Victor as my first name.
Oh, man, I love that. My last name is actually Sugihura, and I'm Brazilian born and raised, and it's a very hard name to write and pronounce. So usually I go with my mom's family name. So the Magaldis on my mom's side. So that's funny. They can't pronounce João or Pão or whatever has a tilde on it. So, okay. So enough with the name thing. Who you are and what you do with blockchain.
Right. So now I've been with Ton for the past 3 years. Before that, started my career as officially in the blockchain space in 2017. But yeah, I think we can get on details later. But been in the space for a few years now.
And in terms of your journey, what did you do before that, and what attracted you to the industry, other than getting rich quickly?
I tried, it didn't work. um, so I actually started in the mobile apps space back in 2012, actually, right when App Store was launched or was becoming something. So before that, I used it to play with iPod touches and doing like the jailbreak stuff, like doing some experiments with applications and right after that, the App Store came in, and many people started to build like mobile applications on top of that. So that's when I actually was starting my entrepreneurial journey. So that was my background actually before crypto, before blockchain.
So you built mobile apps, and how did you come across blockchain or crypto while building mobile apps?
I really like to talk about it because it pays tribute to a great friend. So I was talking to a friend that was 2016, and he said, "Hey, I bought some Bitcoin," and I was like, "Well, I heard about this before. Looks interesting." I actually tried to buy some or try to engage with it, but I was just unable to. How did you do it? So he introduced me to Foxbit. Um, and uh, um, and there was sort of a big coincidence at the time because just a few weeks after that, I met Guto from one of the co-founders from Foxbit. Actually, I was born and raised in the countryside of São Paulo in a city called Marília, and Guto was from a nearby city called Pompeia. And we used it to use this app called BlaBlaCar, I think, where we could post rides, and people would ride with you basically. So one of these days I posted one, and then Guto, he actually rode with me from Pompeia, from Marília actually, to São Paulo. And then there was just maybe 2 or 3 weeks later after I found out about Bitcoin. Then I met Guto, and I took quite a lesson from him, like over like on a 5 hours drive from Marília to São Paulo. So that's how I got engaged and got poisoned with the orange pill.
I don't think you could have a better person to introduce you to crypto, because Guto is a legend on his own right.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And so is Foxbit, I guess. And what did you do with that information? You got your mind blown, and what's next?
Right. So I bought some Bitcoin, just like really small amount. Bitcoin at the time was about $2,000, 1,500, if I'm not mistaken, something like this. So I bought some. Few months later, it went up At the time, I was doing something on health tech. So I was, still doing, completely different thing outside of the Web3 of the blockchain space. And then, I had my investment in Bitcoin, always curious, always talking about it, or always learning more stuff. And then the ICO boom came up. I started to put more money into it, was making money out of nowhere. I had no idea where the money was coming from. And that was actually what prompted me to learn more about blockchain, because, every project had, a white paper. I was, trying to be as diligent as I could in terms of learning and understanding where I was putting my money. So that's when I actually started to understand more about the technology, the whole potential behind it. Um, so yeah, that's, I think, was the, aha moment when I really started to discover what was like beyond blockchain.
That's so cool of a story. And in that capacity, I mean, what how did you end up at Ton? And we can kind of dig deeper into what you're currently doing, but how did that opportunity come across? Because Ton is it's a very quote unquote new in the space, right? 3 years you've been with them. So what's the story there? How did you get that break, and how that played with your then plans on working in the industry?
Right. So when remember I was telling you about this ICO boom, right? And then coincidentally, that was when I exit this health tech startup that I had been building for 2.5 years, roughly. So we sold it to a competitor, and it wasn't like huge money, but it was okay. And then I started to engage even in a much more focused way in this space. And then one of these ICOs I invested was PundiX. I'm not sure if you recall this one. They have sort of rebranded to Pundi AI now, doing AI stuff. But that's how I actually got, like, professionally and officially engaged with Web3. So I was hired under. I was sort of hired initially as a blockchain researcher, just doing like some consultancy for them, for the region. They are from Singapore, and they wanted to grow their activities in Latin. So initially engaged with them as a consultant. Right after I became a country manager, which later expanded to also more regions outside of Latin. So over 5 years, I was actually officially with PundiX doing payment stuff. So at PundiX, we were basically creating a network of payments for cryptocurrencies. And that was, I think, that experience with payments and blockchain was actually what led me to Ton Foundation initially, back in 2022.
And how was the transition from someone who was, by and large, building applications early on into this more of a business oriented or business development and ecosystem growth type person? I mean, these are not exactly um, transferable skills, I would imagine. So, can you walk me through what was your process? I know some of this might have been opportunistic, but it would be great to understand your framework of tackling the opportunity and then growing into the role as you did it.
It was definitely very opportunistic, but it had a lot to do with this startup that I had founded in the health tech space, whereas I had already sort of transitioned from product, from dev to uh, um, business. Well, as a founder, you kind of do everything, right? So I guess this all these skills came together, and that was what led me to Pundiax ultimately. So yeah, I think in a way it was very opportunistic, because I always felt I've been very, very curious about like technology, like overall, not just constrained to a certain thing. I started with like mobile apps, and suddenly I was doing health tech, which is it's a very niche thing. But I mean, we are in this breakthrough moment where things change so fast and new technologies happen so fast, right? So it's kind of about seize the opportunity and do things that you feel passionate about. And that was what prompted me to really work with blockchain with Web3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very Brazilian thing to just punt the ball and then run after it. I guess in a way that we approach things. So yeah, kudos to you there. Now you landed at Ton, and what was the first port of call? Meaning, Ton is um, not too far away from controversy in the Telegram branded space. So, what was the initial challenges you had to tackle when you joined?
I was part of this ICO boom in 2017, and I remember that one of the ICOs that everyone wanted to get in, but no one actually could, was Telegram's ICO. And then the project just died. Everyone lost track of it. Few years later, this person from Taunt Foundation reaches out to me and say, "Hey, we're doing this. Basically, would like to join. We're looking for someone with your profile, with your experience." And then, leading to your question, when I joined the foundation, it was exactly this moment that Ton was reviving itself. Was like in this process of restarting everything. So it was really sort of ground zero moment where we had challenges coming from like all the sides because whilst there was like big expectations because this was kind of Telegram thing. It was also very very early stages, so a huge expectation from one side. Everything was new for everyone who was joining at this new moment. So I guess the only thing we had at the moment in this days, early 2022, late 2021, was challenges.
And what's the evolution has been since you joined? I mean, in 3 years, in crypto is probably like a decade everywhere else. What were some of the hallmark moments in these 3 years, in your opinion?
It starts with the new approach. This new circumstance that Tone was coming back to surface, which was being fully open source and not led and not owned by Telegram. Um, so we actually had to even though we had a great technology that was open sourced and provided by Telegram based on things that they had done, we still had to recreate the entire thing. So I think the first big challenge was actually to get Telegram to believe us, and that's a big misconception that many people still do not understand. They still think that this is like Telegram stuff, and it's not. It was like fully open source, and then after a while that we were doing this, we actually proved it to Telegram that we were doing it the right way. So that's when they turned it to support the ecosystem. So that was probably the biggest thing or the biggest challenge that we all overcame, and in that way we were really able to brought Telegram to this new moment of tone.
And in terms of the current moment after all these challenges, I mean, I think the reason why you and I are having this chat is because I reported on the progressive adoption of the wallet on the Telegram application, but the wallet is actually built on Ton. So Masha reached out, and here we are. So, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what that looks like, and what's the arrangement there, what belongs to whom, and how these things are actually coming into the actual ecosystem and becoming a central part on the user experience?
It's just like Ton is not owned or led by Telegram, also the wallet. So the wallet is a fully independent product built by a fully independent team that has its roots on Telegram, on VK actually, which is the social network that was founded by Durov. Back in, I guess, 2008 or 2009, something like this. So yeah, it's true that many of the people like leading like Ton and also the wallet in Telegram has its roots on VK on Telegram, but it's a fully independent product. And as I was telling before, in this process to get like Telegram to support us and proving then that we were doing this in the right way, we got this opportunity to have wallet in Telegram like placed it and um, like place it in within this like prime spot on Telegram, which everyone can now find through settings. It's fully integrated, like has this in-depth integration with Telegram, where yes, users can send crypto to one and the other, like as an off-chain transaction, and starting from the menu in the chat. So it's a very unique kind of integration that no other independent company was able to achieve. So in that regards, like wallet really becomes this really wallet being on Telegram in that way was a really pivotal moment for the entire ecosystem and perhaps even for the industry because now that recently we've seen like line from Asia also taking a similar approach, so in a way it was a big validation and was a big risk that everyone took like in going through that path, because especially when you do this in like a small environment like just for a small a small app, it's something, but when you do that on an app like Telegram that might face the scrutiny from different governments that it already had, like in Brazil and many other countries, then it's a completely um, uh, different kind of risk you take. And yeah, so I think it was a really pivotal moment, not just for the for our ecosystem, but also for the entire industry, in, showing that we really had like beliefs that this would work, and we were doing this the right way.
And how's this reception has been in terms of adoption? Um, because I mean, if there's there are many challenges in the industry, but one is clearly user experience. I mean, anyone who's tried to use crypto, I mean, you've been in crypto for a very long time. The user experience is not trivial. It's not intuitive. It's risky. Sometimes you send something and it takes longer to confirm. You're like, oh my god, did I send this to the right place? Like all of these things are detrimental to a user experience. And Telegram being a messaging app, it has to have a great user experience. And then now you're adding a wallet as part of this entire experience. How has this played in favor of or against adoption in that capacity?
Part of our approach to tackle this challenge in the industry was to make wallet a custodial wallet. So when you start with the wallet, you actually do not have to worry about private keys and going through that onboarding process that everyone here probably knows quite well, and know how complicated it can be. Of course, if you're more advanced users, if you when you go next level, you can now use wallet on something we call it on space, which is non-custodial wallet, and then you have your own keys, your own coins and stuff. But stepping back, um, um, most of our users now, they are definitely on the custodial side, simply because it's easier, and that is very in line with our goal to onboard users through Telegram. Because even though every one of us that are on Web3, we are Telegram users, we only respond to less than 20% of the entire user base, which still leaves like 800 million users is still excluded from the Web3 space. And that's the kind of user base that we really want to onboard and make this entire onboarding process like as frictionless as possible.
And in terms of that decision, which I think you highlighted as using a custodial type wallet, what were the trade-offs between a custodial and non-custodial? Given that even Telegram itself is kind of open source, I guess. So, what were the trade-offs you were looking for when you made that decision?
So on one hand, it would be much easier to acquire and onboard users. In the other hand, this would still be a siloed ecosystem, whereas you could not engage with DeFi or sign any on-chain transaction, right? So, and there's still ton out there. I mean, we really want more transactions, more people doing on-chain stuff. That's the ultimate goal. So that was probably the biggest trade-off, and that's why actually a few months later, actually 1 year later, we ended up launching Tone Space. So it came not exactly at the same time as the wallet, but after. And now through Tone Space, users can definitely engage with the entire blockchain world that is out there.
And in terms of enablement, I mean, thinking about a wallet as the gateway to adoption, what are the things that are possible now that you have the wallet there? What can users do? What can builders do?
All right. So on the custodial side, basically through the through the wallet, you can hold your assets. We have a big emphasis on USDT. We actually call it like digital dollars. So you only found out that this is actually USDT when you go like next step, when you want to deposit or withdraw. But basically, you can hold your assets. You can on ramp easily, actually with zero fees through Mercurial. That was a major thing, a major partnership that really helped to propel onboarding and on ramping more people. There is also a P2P market, so you can also um, 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 sell and buy directly. In between users. Of course, we have sort of this escrow service with a huge support team taking care of disputes and everything. So it makes this also a very safe environment for people to trade in the P2P world. So these are some of the main functionalities that we created to enable like more people to be onboarded in the most frictionless way as possible.
We here at the show are very much interested in use cases and what problems blockchains are solving. In that ecosystem you guys are building, what are those use cases, or more prominent use cases that you've seen that spiked your interest?
Definitely on the custodial side, like the P2P transactions in between Telegram users is definitely a huge one. The number of users using this functionality is just like growing like day after day, week after week. It's a very unique functionality. Like you wouldn't find this perhaps in any other sizable application as Telegram. Um, but we're seeing more and more adoption on the on-chain side, on Ton Space side, simply because there are more and more opportunities, like more applications with better UX, where users can size opportunities, both like on the on the trading, on the speculative side with like meme coins and stuff, but also we're seeing a huge traction on the earn kind of products. So people like staking. Now we've just actually announced Ethena USDE being launched on Tone. So this will be another approach to the sort of earn kind of product. And these are the use cases that we're seeing more and more growth, especially being enabled by Tone Space, really on chain stuff.
And is there a plan, or anywhere in your, if you can share, obviously, of going multi-chain? The reason I ask is there are many other chains that offer many other features to builders of all kinds. And one of the things that are missing in most of these chains are um, critical user mass. And different users have different needs, and different needs can be met by different types of infrastructure. Is there anything like that in the roadmap that you can share? And the reason why I'm asking is one of the first interactions I had on Telegram was a CryptoKitties game like about 6 months ago, and that felt incredible. I'm not a gamer myself, so I just played for the entertainment value, and then I walked away. But I can't imagine, other industries having different needs of these users that you guys have firsthand access to across other chains as well. So what's the vision there?
That's a very good question, and that's perhaps one of the questions that we make ourselves like every day. Um, that's a big trade-off because so let's split in two parts: the custodial and the non-custodial parts. And sorry, let's split it in two parts: the custodial and the non-custodial part. So on the custodial side of the wallet, we have other chains. So for example, for USDT, you can deposit and withdraw through Tron TRC20. You can also do Bitcoin, and very soon, I believe you will also be able to do Ethereum. But those chains are very like OG kind of stuff. So it's a different it's a different thesis. It's not like really competing to Ton. In fact, we'll be doing a lot of BTC Fi stuff on Ton, so this should contribute a lot. And wallet being a for-profit product, for-profit company. Of course, we want to have more users and more transactions, more people doing stuff, so we earn more money. But that's not what's going to dictate the steps that we take towards onboarding like new chains. But very interestingly, we had a fairly recent experiment with a trading product. So now on the wallet, in the custodial side of it, you can actually trade other tokens that are not on Ton. Like you can trade like Doge, a variety of meme coins. But you actually cannot like deposit and withdraw these tokens. You can just like being exposed to the volatility of these coins. And we actually had very few adoption on this product. And the reason being is that people are really looking to use cases that are around Ton and not other chains. It might be that's because given our existing ecosystem, people are really like on into Ton, and that perhaps they're using like other wallets, other applications to do like things on other chains. So that has dictated a lot to us in terms of perhaps how interesting would be to add like other chains, even though that could lead to more profit and more revenue, right? So this is all to say that I don't believe the wallet as the custodial side would go towards this direction. It's really centered around Ton. In this process to prove Telegram that we were doing the right thing in the right way, we actually struck sort of a huge partnership with them in terms of they issuing like these blockchain guidelines where areas like mini apps on Telegram could only support Ton blockchain and no other chains. So for Ton Space, there's definitely no reason to become multi-chain because that's a preferred wallet for users to sign transactions through mini apps on Telegram, and that's an ever-growing ecosystem. So Ton Space is definitely not going multi-chain. There's no reason to. And another caveat to this is that we've been working closely with Wormhole, with Layer Zero mainly. So the EVM world and also other ecosystems that are not EVM, it will be much easier now, almost like frictionless to be ported onto Ton. So I guess this will also suffice our needs, the needs of our ecosystem to connect with the external world outside Ton.
I mean, interoperability is such a big play that we have yet to solve collectively in Web3 that I think all these efforts are valuable, even though for the time being they really damage the entire user experience, which is again we don't need to dwell on that. But let me get into that a little bit more. Um, Industry wide, what do you think is the one single challenge that we must address now to avoid working another 10, 20 years in the industry and then realizing that we didn't move the needle because we didn't fix that one thing? What is that one thing and why?
Well, this can become very controversial, but I see a lot of people and I use it to go in that direction as well, saying like user experience. We have to make applications that will allow people like my mom, my grandmother to engage with this ecosystem. And I think that or better put in this, I don't think this is true anymore. We're probably now building to the next generation. Like I have a very young brother. He's just 10, and I see how he engages with already with crypto because I introduced him. But sort of what I want to say here is that we're building for the next generations, maybe to our, but surely for the future generations. So probably this argument that we need to make it like even easier for people like my mom. No, I don't think that's gonna stick. It's just a different approach that our industry should take in terms of UX. So this is actually to answer like a part of your question. The other part of your question is many um, like projects that have damaged the the image of our industry. Of course, FTX is probably the biggest one, but there are many others, right? Many of my friends they constantly reach out to me with this kind of investment opportunity that they heard about, and they want my take on this. And this goes towards regulation, and that's why in the beginning I mentioned that this could become very controversial. But what I mean by that is, if we don't have proper regulations, you have like a lot of bad actors being basically able and feeling freely, comfortable in running their scans. So I think we the next I think that like new regulatory frameworks will actually push back those bad actors, and that will probably be very helpful to our industry to thrive, in the sense that it's a new technology. People hear about like this every day in the news, and it's very easy to fall into one of these scams. And we really need ways to like constrain, to push back these bad actors from our ecosystem using our ethos. To like transform these in opportunities for their bad stuff.
Well, when you said it's going to be controversial, I don't think it's controversial at all. I think it's very commonsensical. And yeah, absolutely. And there's a combination of factors to actually achieve that. So happy to have that kind of top of mind for sure. Um, in terms of welcoming people into crypto, I mean, you were in mobile space, then you went to healthcare, and then you transitioned. How do you welcome new users or new builders into the industry?
You mean in tone specifically?
Yeah, yes, but I mean, in like your friends, your family, like a cousin from Marilia that you're like, oh my god, I see you're doing great there. How can I,
Right.
participate?
So the way I approach this is actually not never by providing like sort of opportunity to make money, but rather the opportunity to find like a safe haven for your hard earned money, right? So I think with like DeFi protocols, with stablecoin, especially us being in Brazil, um, um, being Brazilians and being users of Brazilian reais. I mean, there are so many opportunities that like DeFi stablecoins provides to us, and that's from this use case perspective. It's really how I try to onboard, like especially people closely around me. Of course, this also is true for not just like for my friends, but also for everyone in Latin, in Southeast Asia, like across the global South, Africa. There are so many great use cases that our industry can provide. That it's not totally about like making money on meme coins. So that's the approach I take, not just like personally to my inner circle, but also in my scope of work. These are kind of the a value proposition that we're bringing to people on Tone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Onboarding is such a because if you mess up early on, you won't come back anytime soon. And in terms of, I mean, you work in a global company. Um, the industry operates 24/7, 365. How do you keep yourself healthy?
That's a very good question. So, I've recently started to put more focus on my well-being, and especially working on this industry. You probably also face this. You kind of work across, different time zones around the clock. So you have meetings like 1 a.m., like 5 a.m., like our time zone, and so it's not easy, like to keep up with the pace. So sometimes it's really about like saying no, I cannot do this, rather than just saying yes just to praise someone that you want to. But yeah, like trying to eat healthier. That's not easy in today's world because it's always about time. So it takes more time to eat healthier. It's about like taking time for take care of your brain. So like doing activities like sports. I've always been very much into sports, but uh, recently it's been like months that I don't really do like any sports like consistently, and it's a shame, right? I mean, you shouldn't suppose it to be this way. Yeah, I don't think I'm probably the right person to give any advices. but it's hard, and probably this thing of working across different time zones is perhaps the most damaging thing. But I mean, there should be a way, right? I haven't found it yet, but there should be.
Yeah, no, time zones are horrible. I moved to the UK 3 years ago, and I'm not gonna lie, working from GMT or BST with everywhere else in the world is so much easier than working from Brazil. For a few years, I worked out of Sao Paulo, but I had teams in Malaysia, so it was not the funnest of times. But I fully appreciate that challenge. So, how can people be in touch with you, with the project, to keep tabs on what you guys are doing and learn more about it? What's the path there?
Okay, so you can easily find me on LinkedIn by searching Victor Mendes, but of course you can reach me out on Telegram. I have this dedicated channel about PayFi on Tone, and I'd love to have you guys on there. But feel free to reach me out on Telegram on at J Victor Mendes. So J Victor Mendes. And yeah, I'll be happy to walk you through, guys, on anything you need about Tone.
Awesome. Man, thank you so much for taking the time with us. I really liked learning more about your story and, why you do what you do. And hopefully we'll meet in person at some crypto event somewhere in the world. That would be great. Thank you.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you so much for having me, Mauricio.
Catch us online. We're on Instagram at BlockDropsPodcast, on Twitter at BlockDropsPod or ZeroX Mauricio. We're on Lens at blockdrops.lens. We have a newsletter on LinkedIn. Write to us at blockdropspodcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to the Blockdrops podcast at Spotify, iColab, Faberbun Tech, and all of the other major streaming platforms. Yay! Shout out to Victor for taking the time to share with us his trajectory in Web3 and beyond, and also to Masha Balanovic for making this conversation possible. Don't forget to leave the ratings on your favorite player and check out the merch store at blockdropspodcast.xyz. This is all for today. Stay rare, stay weird, LFJ.